This is the section. This is the notes for section 4.2, standard form of a quadratic function, quadratic equation. Objectives for this section: we're going to be able to graph and identify quadratic functions in standard form, and then we're going to also change from vertex to standard and standard to vertex form. Now, all you're going to see on this first part is a description of how to graph. Second part will show some examples of graphing. Third part we'll go through talking about vertex to standard. And then the fourth part, we'll talk about standard to vertex. Okay. So in lesson 4.1, you worked with quadratic functions written in vertex form. Now you're going to use standard form. Standard form of a quadratic function is this right here. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a cannot be 0. Okay. Now you've seen this before. You've seen this quadratic equation before when we were doing things like factoring and completing the square, quadratic formula, solving for those things. Now we're going to actually graph them. Okay, so quadratic function in standard form. The graph, obviously, is a parabola. Okay, it's the same thing. You're not going to graph anything different here. If a is greater than 0, it opens up. If it's less than 0, it opens down. The axis of symmetry is the value x equals the opposite of b over 2a. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. The x-coordinate of the vertex is the opposite of b over 2a. Okay, this is very important. We're going to talk about that. The y-coordinate of the vertex is the y value of the function. Now, what does that mean? We're going to put this in here, and you'll need to write this in on your notes. What you're going to do, once you find the x value, you are going to substitute the x value into the equation to find the y value of the vertex. Okay? So you're going to find your opposite of b over 2a to find the x value of the vertex, and then you're going to plug that into your equation to find the y value. You'll see it as we go through some examples. Okay. The other key part is that the y-intercept is the ordered pairs 0 and c. Now you'll notice c, c is the end, the last very constant number in the equation. That's the y-intercept every time. So you'll notice when we start to graph these, we're going to find 3 points instead of 5 on these ones. Okay. Now, as you look here at the bottom of this, on this graph, it shows you some examples of whether it opens up or down. If a is greater than 0, this is roughly what your graph will look like, your parabola. This is the vertex right here, okay, the opposite of b over 2a, and then when you put the opposite of b over 2a in, okay, xy. The y-intercept, which is right here, okay. And you'll notice how they find the other point. They just reflect it over the axis of symmetry, just like we were before. And you'll notice on these graphs they only have 3 points, and that's all we're going to find. We're going to find the vertex, the y-intercept, reflect it, and then draw your graph. Here's an example of one that's in the downward direction. Okay, a is less than 0. Here's the vertex. Here's the y-intercept. Again, they reflect the y-intercept, and then they graph it. The dotted line on both of these is the axis of symmetry. Okay. Okay, so one thing change here is, as we look at this here, we're going to change this guy. This is not vertex form. We got to change this guy to standard form. Standard form of a quadratic equation and how to graph. Okay. Again, this is standard form of a quadratic equation. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. All right. So the first thing that we want to do is you'll need to find the vertex first. Okay. So the vertex, the x value is opposite of b over 2a. Okay. Now you'll notice again in this equation, a is always in front of x squared, b is in front of x, and c always stands by itself. To find the y value of the vertex, you plug in the x value that you just found into the standard form equation. So then you'll have your x and y for the vertex. Once you plot the vertex, okay, once you plotted the vertex, next you will plot the y-intercept, which is 0c, this number right here, okay, 0 and c. Finally, You'll reflect that y-intercept across the axis of symmetry to find your third point and then draw your parabola. Okay, these, in my opinion, are actually easier to graph than vertex forms sometimes. Okay, because you don't have to do so much substituting in. All right. Okay, so this is section 4.2. This is how to graph in standard form. Look for part 2, and that'll go through examples and show you actually how to graph.